All right, we are live for another episode of Real Estate Junkies podcast. Today, we are going to be diving into a game changing conversation about identifying your roadblocks and honing in on strategies that lead to having clarity and success in your real estate business. If you ever felt like you're stuck in the production mode and overwhelmed by systems or unsure how to scale your business, this episode is for you. Our guest is an expert in breaking down goals into actionable steps, helping agents transition from being just another producer to becoming the true CEO of their business. So let's jump in. What are the biggest roadblocks holding most agents back from real success? Now, we have John Kitchens as our guest, who is a top systems and processes coach who helps real estate agents turn their practice into a real business with over 20 years in the industry and thousands of coaching sessions. John knows how to break down goals into actionable steps that lead to real success. In this episode, we will talk about how to identify the biggest roadblocks for you in your business and develop strategies that create clarity, that creates efficiency and long-term growth. John, welcome to the podcast. Finally, I'm glad to have you.
Yeah, man. That's weird. We were kind of laughing before we came on. I was like, man, I think I pushed you off way too many times. I'm glad we're finally here.
Awesome. We're gonna have to get a lot more value for that. Okay, that's the
That's
punishment.
right. There you go.
Can you take us to the beginning of your real estate journey? What led you into the industry, and what were some of the early challenges that you faced in your business?
Yeah, I was just kind of into the industry by default. I got connected with Jay Kinder back in 2004, and just kind of really on a whim. The crew that I was kind of working with were lifelong buddies, serial entrepreneurs. Was working for them, and prior to 2004, we had been a part of multiple businesses, and we had gotten really good at being able to get them to a point to where we could kind of flip them. And so it was just a really cool experience early on to be, being able to work in a couple different industries, but being able to get the businesses into a point and get them sold. And, we were,
Businesses and selling them.
yeah, so we were, looking for something to do. And so at the time, I mean, mid 20-year-old, guys, that we thought it'd be a good idea to own a bar, and, got into the bar business in 2004. And my daughter was born that year. My son had just turned 2, and my daughter was born. So two young kids, and, a young family in the bar scene that's not a good mix. And so, my first roommate out of college, we actually played junior high and high school golf together. Mr. Michael Reese was the connector. He caught wind that I was about to jump ship from the guys that I was, a part of and working with. And he said, I got a guy that you need to meet. And he made the introduction to Kinder in October of 2004. And so, fast forward, 20 years later, multiple brokerages being a part of in Lawton, Oklahoma, as well as Frisco, Texas, and getting into the coaching side of things back in February of 2012. And so
Wow.
been an interesting ride, fun ride. I think during, owning and operating the brokerages, I think overseeing over 4,300 transactions, and, now in my 12th, 13th year of one-on-one coaching, almost 17,000 one-on-one calls. And I think we're just a couple months away. We'll hit the 10,000 hour of one-on-one coaching. So, I like to share that because just of the unique perspective of boots on ground, owning and operating, man, I get it in the trenches. I get, small town, Lawton, Oklahoma market. I get one of the biggest, most complex, toughest markets on the planet in DFW, as well as coaching, real estate agents all over North America. And now, the beauty of EXP, of working with, with agents in different countries, being able to see and understand that dynamic as well when it comes to housing. And, in other countries outside of the U.S. So it's been, man, it's been fun. It's been an interesting ride up to this point, and really, really excited to see, as things unfold, this year and into into the future, especially
So
running through
what
this
was that
decade.
like? What was 2004 like? Was it a lot similar to what we have going on right now? The market is inflated, everything's expensive, and there is some uncertainty. Like, what was some of the challenges when you first got into the business?
Some of the challenge, I mean, things were good for us then. Being in military market, we're kind of insulated, obviously being right in the middle of the country, really insulated from a lot of things. And even as we rode into, 2006, 2007, 2008 timeframe, when, the rug was pulled out from underneath all of us, what we found, and I think this is where you come from, a mindset perspective of an abundance mindset of understanding that we always have a move. There's always an opportunity. You have to be aware enough and be agile enough to, see where the puck is going and where the opportunities are.
Yeah.
Kinder went a different route. He went all in on short sales because that was the opportunity. And I think, for him, it was really painful owning, over 24, rental properties in that market that you were all of a sudden upside down on. And so just knowing, that game, I went, where the other opportunity was, and the other opportunity was in new construction.
Wow.
And so I really, lassoed, my, hitched my wagon to one builder. And, I was at his beck and call, but it was one of the greatest experiences for me to be able to kind of go through that time of, you got polar opposites. You got people buying brand new construction homes, and you got people that are underwater that are just having to, negotiate with the bank, or having somebody in their corner to negotiate with the banks to be able to get that done. So those are some of the, big struggles. And, for me, I walked into a successful operation. I mean, Kinder was already at that time, had a ton of market share. Lawton, Oklahoma, there's only about 3,000 total transactions per year. During that run, there's only about 100,000, people within the county. And I think it was 34,000 rooftops. I mean, it's grown since then, but during that time, that's kind of what it was, but it's still about the same amount of transactions. Well, when I came in 2004, closed out 340 transactions. Next year, we closed 430 transactions. And then the year after that, we closed 521. Where I came in was on the operation side of things. I didn't come in with boots on the ground right into the trenches on the sales side of things. So that's where, having that perspective of coming in. And I always like to say, I walked into a situation, it was like a go fast boat motor on the back of a rowboat is what it was. And it was just all over the place. And just, with me coming in, putting systems, processes, guardrails, cadence, rhythm, calendars, just all of the things to create structure really allowed us to make that jump and make that jump again. When we did 521, we finished number 2 in the world for Caldwell Banker that year. Yet we were number 2 in our market. So this is why I'm always like pro competition. Like, you've got to have competition. And this is what I love about, the other platform companies. That's what I love about Real. That's what I love about all these other companies that are trying to position for number 2 in kind of the cloud-based brokerage platform model. Like, EXP needs competition.
Yeah.
And, I look at the changes that even EXP made over the last 2, 3, 4 years. If it wasn't for competition, they would have got stagnant. They wouldn't have done anything. They would have just been like, hey, we're good, right? We got our own little category. We're good over here. I love competition. And I think that's what fueled us so much, is because we got our lunch handed to us every dang year. We were like, what do we do to beat these guys? And we never could. They were a top 10 Remax team on the planet that we went head to head with. We had 20% market share, yet we got throttled by their team. So it humbled us, but it also drove us. Yeah. And that was really instrumental for me in those first few years of having that. And 07, 08 was tough. I finally had to get into production. Yeah. And so I learned okay, all right, I'm just not sitting in the office from an operational standpoint. I'm actually out I'm out actually doing the thing.
Yeah.
And it was just a great experience, especially for those first 5, 6, 7 years of being in the industry, is to be able to have that
It
perspective.
must have been tough. Like a lot of people think growth happens when everything's going good. Like, well, would you say, like, if you take away all of that experience, oh 07, 8, 9, maybe even up to 11, right? You would be where you are today with the
No,
understanding you have experience.
no, without, no way. There's no way. And we wouldn't be where we're at today if it wasn't for Lawton, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because one thing that I've seen across, the 2 decades of being in this industry is that you can get rewarded for bad behavior.
Mm.
And in high price point markets, you can get rewarded for bad behavior because you can go cash a couple big commission checks and it could offset some of your poor habits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when you're selling $100,000 houses and every penny matters,
Yeah.
you start to understand how important the details are. You start to understand customer acquisition, and marketing just as well as anybody. So you understand customer acquisition cost. You understand, the lifetime value of that endeavor, of that opportunity. You know what you're willing to give and you can't give. You also understand the profitability side of things. So it really shaped us in having to be well-rounded, but it also forced us to get out and utilize our business to uncover other opportunities,
Yeah.
rentals, rehabs, developments, new construction, ownership of other companies, other venue affiliate relationships. And we had to do all of those things sometimes to just put, food on the table. And, I really look at, like, having that experience really laid the foundation for what we were able to do, years to come after that, with the coaching organization, with NAEA, and then obviously stepping into EXP in 2017.
Yeah. And I think it's very important to highlight this point here, is that I think a lot of people forget or miss the point, or they a lot of times even resent struggles in a business, right? And they just want to get to becoming successful. We just can't wait. Like, we just can't wait to make what we want to make, right? I'm just gonna make my first $1 million. You don't know that they're not ready, right? You wouldn't be a coach if you didn't go through those struggles. You wouldn't be who you are today if you didn't go through those struggles to have the skin in the game. I don't know. The results I have today, if I had them 3 years ago, I would crush and burn,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't become the character. I didn't have that experience under my belt. So I think it's very important to highlight that the struggles we do face, the failures, forget about struggles, the failures we do face in the path to success are what makes us successful, right? Are what gives us that character, that resiliency that we require to actually hold success when we have it, right?
Yeah. It's
Awesome.
so important. It's so important to have, because you look at, I saying of, skipping steps only presents the illusion of speed. And you think about that in anything that we do. If you skip any of the steps, one, you miss the lessons, like what you're talking about. But no matter what happens, you're going to have to learn those lessons at some point. Doesn't matter. Like, if you can accelerate collapse time, but
You're gonna pay for it probably.
you're going to pay for it at some point. You have to learn those lessons. And just even in the process of working with buyers and sellers, right? It's like, listen, if you skip through some stuff to get to, hey, it's a slam dunk. And I always, for me, this lesson was working with my sister, the first time that I worked with my sister. And it's my sister. She's going to listen to her big brother, whatever I say. I've got my real estate license. I'm working for one of the top companies, on the planet. She's going to just do what I say. Well, I didn't talk about really getting crystal clear on her goals. I didn't articulate, the market conditions, kind of what to anticipate, what to expect. I didn't really explain to her our process of how we go about, everything that we do and why we do it, how we position it, how we market it, everything that we do. Just skipped all those steps. Well, I have to deal with her because we're not getting traction. It's not selling fast enough. It finally does sell, goes under contract. And now I didn't articulate the closing process. So now she's all over me. She's all over our team. She's all over our coordinators. The office wants to kill me. Like it's not a good situation. And it really hurt our relationship for a long time. Well, we amended that, time heals everything. And it comes around again to sell this home. And I'm like, I'm going to do it the right way this time. And I did. I sat down with her. I took her through the whole process. I took her through what we have as CHSA today within an EA that's made available to the Honey Badger Nation. And I took her through it. Textbook. It was the best experience that we had. Days on market. It almost within her geographical area, her subdivision, her price point, almost to the average to the day when we were seeing all type of similar properties sell. The closing experience was on point. It was textbook. Yeah. But it was textbook because I had learned the lesson and I did it right the second time. I didn't skip any steps. And it was fantastic. And so that was for me at that point is like, got it. There's no shortcuts in this. One, there's no shortcuts in life, but there's no shortcuts in this game. Yeah. And if you don't take the time to articulate your system, your process, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it at some point.
Now for you, what was it that got you out of production, or what was the thing that get you where you are today, coaching agents, having the organization? Like what was the story behind that for you?
Yeah, it definitely was the transition of on the coaching side of things. We were able to install some things into the business. I think understanding having proven systems that are not hero dependent, hero ball. So you think about, prior to a lot of listing presentations where at the point you would walk in and look at my accolades, look at my awards, look at our, what we've earned, what we've done. And like, you should list with me, right? It's no value driven back to the consumer. And so we had to create a proven process to be able to, that anybody could articulate and deliver. And the consumer understood that it was the process that was going to help them achieve their goal. So we had to do that. The other thing is that we had to understand the math and, operate within kind of a salary cap formula that you have revenue, you have to pay out commission splits, broker fees, referrals. So how much money's coming to your company? Oh, by the way, we need to have a profit. So I only have so many dollars to put the best team on the field with salaries and expenses. Once we learn that dynamic of how to make the math in a market that every penny mattered and have a proven system, we were able to then excuse ourselves or escape having to be in there with buyers and sellers. I still loved it. I would still work the new construction angles. I would obviously our rehabs, our properties and things like that. Because I just enjoyed that part of it, but not going in cold to anybody. Yeah. But by that point, we had a marketing machine. Marketing, like I said, just as well as anybody, and being able, that's what you have to have an attraction-based business. So we were able to put key people in place and have the right talent running the organization to be able to step out. So I think leadership, having a proven system, a good business model, but great leadership and great people to be able to escape. So I always joke, right? I was able to escape Lawton and got down to Texas, got into Frisco, Texas, and, working in there. But it was the coaching side of things for me. And, my dad, my dad's a Hall of Fame coach in the public school system for over 40 years. So I grew up a coach's kid. I grew up in the locker room. So I was just hardwired, from jump on coaching. Yeah. I just, though, knew that there was a better way on the coaching side of things than getting into the public school system as a coach. I saw my dad's paychecks and I was like, that's not for me. I want more. I'm not
getting that to babysit people, right?
Exactly. So the opportunity came about when the guys had the high level coaching program at NAEA, which was NAEA Mastermind at the time. And, you had to be doing $1 million in revenue to even apply to get into that room. And you think back in those days, 2010, 2011, 2012, time frame, it was all about getting to 7 figures in revenue. And then the next jump was to get to, 1,000 transactions, right? That was like a milestone to be able to get to that point. And so during that time of NAEA Mastermind, you had to be doing $1 million in revenue. So that's the clientele that I was working with at the point. And so for me, it was definitely on the coaching side of things. As the brokerage in Texas, really vetting out certain ideas and certain things that the direction we were going. Yeah. And then we were exposed to EXP. We overlooked it a couple of times just because we were so fixated that we had our plan, our way. But I think, the lesson is always, once you have a big vision and knowing kind of what that big, hairy, audacious goal is, then you've got to be able to have the flexibility to, is there a better way? Is there a way that we could get there faster? And that's what we saw with EXP, to be able to know that we could achieve our vision in a fraction of time by aligning with this opportunity. Yeah. And that's what we were able to do.
So what do you feel like is the mindset shift that is necessary, or the agents that are not have made that shift from transitioning from just being a salesperson to actually becoming a business owner? I would say this opportunity is not available to any other sales industries. Car salesmen, they can have their own business. Furniture salesmen, they can have their own business. But real estate agents can. So what is the mindset shift required from going just a salesperson, paycheck to paycheck, commission to commission, deal to deal, to truly becoming a business owner?
Yeah, it is the shift that you want to make, and that you want to focus and lean in more on business side of things. Yeah. And it's that whole agent to CEO mindset. And I think it's the first is understanding your mindset and how you're thinking about it. And that you want to move from not only just being that agent out there just chasing transactions, but that you really want to truly become that CEO, not only of your business, but first and foremost, the CEO of your life, right? You really want to understand that it's up to you, right? And you got to focus on the things within your control. You don't want to be dependent upon anybody else or any other company for your success. Yeah. And once you can kind of mentally make that shift, that like, got it, I'm head of company, I have the responsibility, I'm responsible for my decisions, I'm responsible for, the things that are within my control. And I really want to build a business. I want to turn it into a vehicle that I could utilize that's going to move me to my freedom. I think once you can start to get clear and think about the future. And so I break down and push on freedom to me is 2 things. It's one is, how much money do I need coming in that I'm not trading time for dollars, so that I could live the life I want, do what I want, with who I want, wherever I want. Tony Robbins' absolute financial freedom number. What is that number? Because right now, a lot of us, if we don't, we're like dancing bears, right? If we don't dance, we don't get paid. And so we've got to be out there. We've got to be doing these things. And so utilizing your real estate company as a vehicle. And like you said, there is no other industry that's better to uncover opportunities. And that's my real belief with real estate now and into the future. For you, if you're in this and you're wanting to build a real estate business, not just be an agent, a salesperson chasing transactions, but if you really want to build a business, you have to build your business as an opportunity generating machine. It generates opportunities that you're able to either real estate or other business. Yeah. But what does my number need to be? The second thing is, am I moving and living closer to my perfect day? And if you've gone through the perfect day exercise, Frank Kern talks about it. And you can just jump on YouTube and go Frank Kern perfect day. He's got his whole, the whole presentation. This is back in the long hair Frank Kern days. And so he breaks down, it's really about core identity, who you are at your core. Yeah. But he also has he talks about if you have to live Groundhog Day over and over, what would you do from the moment you wake up? What are your all senses firing? Where are you at when you look out the window? What do you see? What's going on? To the last thought you have when you fall asleep. And if everybody's honest with themselves and does the exercise correctly, everybody works. And typically it's 2 to 4 hours that everybody works. But what it identifies is, and this is ICP, this goes back to your ideal client. And it's like, well, if I'm going to work 4 hours Groundhog Day, then I'm only going to work with these type of people because these type of people pay me the most amount of money. I enjoy them the most.
Yeah.
Then the question becomes, well, why aren't you working with those people now? And so it starts to guide you in a direction. And I think that's where a lot of real estate agents are just like leaves in the wind. They just kind of blow with where everything is going. They're not moving in that known direction. Yeah. And I think that's the first and foremost thing that you have to get real clear on. And then your real estate business is just a vehicle to uncover opportunities. And there's no better business opportunity industry to uncover opportunities to build wealth than real estate.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, the mindset shift is really just pretty simple as far as when it's like, okay, how do I shift from production to a business owner, is that we are in the business of making a lifestyle for ourselves and not making a living.
Yeah.
And you could just go from that perspective that I'm here to make a living to making a lifestyle the way I want to live. That's the ultimate goal, and not paying my bills, right?
Yeah.
I think that's when people can unlock, like, you know what, I need to take control, because if I don't have control, I'm always under the bus and I'm not driving the bus, right? I'm not the one driving the bus. Now, what would you say some common roadblocks that holds business owners, like people that understand that this is a business, the team leaders, the brokers? What are some common roadblocks when it comes to scaling their businesses, or really get to that freedom with their business?
Yeah, I mean, number one is mindset. And I think kind of what is your decision-making process, and how do you filter out, the constraints and the roadblocks and the challenges that we all face in growth, right? Every time, growth's not easy. There's certain things, there's lessons, right, that we have to learn, and there's setbacks, and just how to navigate those waters is first and foremost the right mindset.
Yeah.
But I think it's operating in a mindset of constraints. So one of the best lessons that I learned early on from one of our mentors, Vern Harnish, and it's his number one book recommendation. It's called The Goal by Eli Goldratt. And The Goal is really told in fable format, and it's told in a manufacturing company, but it's also, parallels with his relationship with his wife, and then parallels to the relationship with his kids. And it really comes down to the theory of constraints, right? That's what it operates in, is operating in within the theory of constraints. And that was one of the biggest shifts for me, is now, okay, well, where is the constraint? Where is the bottleneck? Where is really what that we have to move along? But there's always a constraint. And for most, understanding what we have to look at first and foremost is, okay, out of the top three, do we have a strategy constraint, which is a game plan? Do we have a constraint there? Do we have a problem there? Do we have how we execute problem, or do we have a talent problem? And what I've seen over the last decade is 80+% of people have a talent problem. They have a who, they don't have the right people around them. That's their biggest constraint. And I think that initial shift, that I want to build a business that's going to serve me from now and into the future, is that I can't do it alone. I think that's where you have to just be like, got it. I can't do it on my own. I need help. And so when you can overcome that first constraint of getting the right people, or knowing that you got to get the right people, and when you have the right people, they can help with the better strategy and better execution. So that helps a lot of those constraints. But when you get down into the strategy and the execution, it's like, okay, well, what do we focus on? What do we work on? And this then comes into understanding in your conveyor belt of your business, raw material, closed transaction. And I would even push it a little bit further, that it's not just a closed transaction. It's like, they're really not a client of yours until they send you a referral. So if you take with that mindset, that you extend the conveyor belt out a little bit further, so you have this conveyor belt, and now raw material is going to be traffic, right? Traffic, demand, a compelling offer,
Yeah.
right? Do we have a traffic problem or do we have an offer problem? And just being able to look on the front end of that conveyor belt. Well, once you have traffic, then you got to convert the traffic. So then you move into the next piece of conversion.
Yeah.
And so in real estate, it's converting, a buyer or a seller inquiry into a conversation, and then a conversation of, hey, we need to get face to face. And then when we're face to face, I convert you to want to move forward and do business together.
Yeah.
And then once we're there, then the next piece of the conveyor belt, once conversion, then becomes fulfillment, right? So, marketing is, making a promise, but being able to keep the promise. Like I can deliver on what I'm selling you. So you have fulfillment, and then you have retention. And so I think that's why in working with buyers and sellers, I think you want to extend the conveyor belt, not just at the closing table, but I got to do even more until you send me a referral. Then I got you. Then I got you in my raving fan. I got you, in the customer journey. I got you now as a promoter out there in the streets, singing praises and sending people our way. But it's operating within those theory of constraints. And the biggest thing that I see, this is the number one question I always ask every stage, every room kind of walking into. And I'm like, how many of you guys need more leads, need more opportunities? 99% of the room raises their hand. Yeah. Now, the next few are the people that are like, dude, I got enough leads. I just need to know how I need help converting, right? I got a conversion problem. And so those are the top two things, because most agents, they know how to fulfill. And then if you can just shift their mindset a little bit, like, hey, you're not done until they send you a referral. They're like, oh, okay, I need to love on them a little bit more. Yeah. So the biggest two things is traffic and then conversion. Mm-hmm. But it's always about traffic, man. It's always about demand. It's always about creating opportunities, because if you can do that, that fixes a lot of problems.
It's funny the way you explain the whole conveyor belt thing, and it's very. I never use the word conveyor belt, but I do explain, like inside of the academy, I teach it very similarly, like a production line. I'm in Michigan, so we're like all about cars, like we build cars.
Yeah.
So, a little differently. I don't have four things. I have three. The way I look at it is attraction problem, attraction system, conversion system, and retention system. And retention starts from fulfillment. Like you're gonna keep someone, you gotta start from, like, as soon as they become their client, you gotta act like to keep them forever, right?
Yeah.
For me, retention starts even before you even get to closing tables far. If you don't do the right things, you're not even gonna keep them as a client. They're gonna leave you to go somewhere else, right?
100%.
So even that, but that's amazing the way you broke that down. Now, what would you say? What are some of the biggest mistakes agents make when trying to build a real estate team, like go from production to leveraging? And I don't really like the word leverage, but let's just say leveraging people to start building a business, and how can they avoid that?
Yeah, I think they do it too quick. It's the old, hiring out of pain instead of out of gain, not being intentional, not knowing what they're going to do. I love Dan Martell's book, the Buy Back Your Time book, to where he really breaks down to get into the productivity quadrant. Dan Sullivan has a similar, understanding with unique ability, and but understanding that I'm trying to put myself in a position to where I'm spending 70 to 80% of my working time doing what I'm the best in the world at, that makes us, the company and myself, the most amount of money, but also gives me energy, doesn't rob me of energy, right? We've heard do the time audit, but do the time and energy audit. And what Dan Sullivan talks about is unique ability and excellent activities. The only difference is a unique ability is something that gives you energy. The excellent activities are the exact same, but it doesn't give you energy, and it necessarily doesn't rob you of energy. So for example, you may be world-class on listing presentations, but it just doesn't give you any dang energy at all, right? It doesn't really rob you of energy, but it doesn't like excite you. You're not like even energized after it. And so, but you are a little more energized having a conversation with an agent or a broker that you're trying to recruit into your organization. Got it. We're still going to put you face to face because that's the most dollar productive activity, but it's going to be talking to agents instead of talking to sellers.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the distinction. That's a little bit of the difference. And so it's always about getting the right who's in the right order.
Yeah.
I think understanding too, you only have so many dollars to put the best team on the field. So I think the evolution is now utilizing VAs all over the world, because the beautiful thing that came from 2020 was it unlocked the global workforce.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so finding, what it is that you're needing based upon your weaknesses that you're trying to find people to complement you. You only have so many dollars. Leverage the global workforce.
Yeah.
And then now kind of the evolution of kind of where we're at is you better be leveraging the heck out of AI as much as you can to help you, but also help the key people that you have to collapse time. And so I think, to your point with leverage, it's knowing your worth and then starting to, as soon as you can, putting the right pieces, the right who's in place, a little bit before you're comfortable with. I remember, when Kinder brought me back on in 2004, he told me at the time, and he told me, many years later, he's like, dude, I couldn't afford you. But he goes, I couldn't afford not to have you.
Wow.
And I think that's the key thing in understanding, is that you got to make that, you'll never be ready, but when you're about right there, when it's a little uncomfortable, make the hire. Because if you get the good people around you, they're going to pull the things off of your plate for you to reallocate your time. That's going to help drive the business forward. Remember, we want to be doing things that we're the best at, that helps the company move forward, helps your business move forward, and does not rob you of energy. That's what we're trying to get to. And then it's just building the components around you to allow you to get there.
Awesome. Now, you spoke about EXP, and we spoke about what brought you guys here, but what has been the impact since you guys been here? How long has it been, and what has been the impact? I know, but let's talk about it for our audience. Yeah.
Man, we came over in 2017, and Al, I've coached Al since 2011. So I've been coaching Stasic since 2011.
Wow.
And we got him out of production. And so he had escaped production, and, he had another endeavor that he was doing, and his top two agents were leaving him. And so he was really staring right back into the realization that he had to go back into production. He's like, I don't want to do that. And so about that time, Cliff Freeman sends him a little video and says, tell me if I'm crazy. And so he watched it, and then he called me, and I watched it with him. And we talked for about 6 more hours. And then he called Jay, talked to Jay for about 12 hours.
Wow.
And he's like, boys, I'm going. I was like, dude, you got to make the jump. You got to do it. You got to do it. It solves all your problems. It makes the most sense in the world. And so he went, and, we were right there, right behind him, making the move. And, we were rocking. We had our own vision. We had our own, what we were doing in Texas is called Partner. And we were partnering with agents in market service areas. Our promise was, 4 new listings a month in their market service area. We had a call center, lead generation. I mean, we were spending, 6 figures a month on salaries, expenses. I mean, it was heavy. And we just saw an opportunity that we could get rid of all of this.
Yeah.
And go there. And remember, we made the decision because we believed at the time our BHAG was 2,000 partners by like a 10-year mark.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, wow, could we get there faster to partners than trying to do this? And of course, we made the jump, came over in 2017, and of course achieved the BHAG, 18 months later. And what was going to take us 7 or 8 years took us 18 months to be able to achieve. And I think that's just an important lesson. We didn't lose sight of the vision. We just found a better path, a better way to get there, and a better engine. And what was really cool? So, 2017, we went to EXPCon, and it was in Fort Lauderdale. They were just celebrated 4,000 agents coming over. And there were 400 people at this event. We had we had breakfast with, at the time, the president was Vicky Bartholomew. She was the president of EXP at the time.
So you were not part of EXP yet, or were you already part of EXP that time?
We hadn't joined yet. We were just we had went Brent Gove. Brent made us come, and then we had lunch with Glenn and Jason. And so Kinder and I are sitting directly across. And this, I can't make this up. This is in the back room of the downstairs in the Fort Lauderdale hotel that we were having EXPCon. And it was straight out of a mob movie. And you got the kitchen banging over here. And we're at this big, long round table. We're sitting right across from Jason and Glenn. You got Gove, you've got Stasik, you've got Gaydosh. You just there's some Ryan Reilly. There's just all these people. Piak was there. Just all of us around the table. And we got to listen to Glenn talk about the vision that he had. And remember him saying, selling real estate is just going to be like what Amazon, selling books is to Amazon. That's just kind of what this is going to be. It's going to be continuation. We're going to have this. And this was in September of 2017. And fast forward, I remember sitting in shareholders in Orlando in 2018 and texting Kinder going, this mofo is executing exactly on what he said he was going to do, the vision of EXP, faster and better than anybody I've ever seen, any organizations we've ever been a part of. And keep in mind, in AEA that year, we did 10 million in revenue that year. Wow. We were a $10 million company.
Yeah.
We shut down because we believed in the vision and we saw that we could achieve our dreams being a part of the vision of EXP, of what Glenn talked about. And that's why I cannot stress enough that if you're building a company or an organization, you have to make sure your vision is so big that the people who come on board believe they can achieve their dreams being a part of it. We believe that we could achieve our dreams by being a part of the vision that Glenn had laid out with EXP. And that's the deciding factor. Vision is so important because without a vision, the village will perish. And it's important that you have the vision for your life. And sometimes, it's okay that you're not the one driving the vision. And it's okay that you can be a part of somebody's vision, just as long as the vision is big enough for you to achieve what it is that you're wanting to achieve.
As long as I get to my vision, I don't care who's driving.
That's right.
Go for me, right? Now, there are agents out there, team leaders out there, brokers out there. Oh, I already know EXP. Someone pitched me. What are they missing out on, or why should they pay attention now more than ever?
Yeah, the beautiful thing, it's a platform that allows you to design and build the business that you want to build with the most amount of support. I was talking with somebody last night. EXP's done an incredible job to support the individual agents at a really, really high level. And they're starting to do really, really well to support the bigger teams and team leads. It's a buffet. And I think the beautiful thing about EXP is that you can go get whatever you need and whatever you want, given the season of where you're at in your career, wherever the season you're at in your business. There's no other place that does that.
Yeah.
It provides multiple revenue streams, but to me, it also gives you the foundation and flexibility to do whatever you want, right? You look at these other agents and these businesses that are at EXP, but they're also partners with Place. Where else can you go and still mathematically make sense to do things to where you can bolt on different types of structures and different type of models than you can at EXP? I've got a lot of great agents, a lot of great friends that are at some of the other cloud-based. Cloud-based is the direction. I think the other legacy companies will sunset at some point, or it'll be interesting to see kind of acquisitions or plays or moves with them into the future. But
it's already happening within themselves, right? They're like, we're not going to flip to cloud-based and fold. We're just going to buy each other. Let's buy each other.
I think so. Yeah, it'll be really interesting. I think there'll be a lot of sunsetting. I think you've got a lot of agents that will just ride off into the sunset under those, and you'll start to see them kind of fade. But no matter what, man, it's just like I said earlier. we need healthy competition. We
Yeah.
need these other companies to be successful, to push us, to continue to evolve and be the best. And they just done such an incredible job with the flexibility. And I'll default back to this. And one of the things that kind of took away from that conversation in Fort Lauderdale that I started to see in Orlando the following year, core values are everything. I mean, when you break apart what is a vision is, starts with what you value. What are your shoulds and should nots? And a couple of the things that I saw obviously was the agile core value with EXP, but the other one that really resonated with me was sustainability. And when I started to see proof of them making decisions that were sustainable to the organization in the health long term, because you're either starting a business for forever or you're starting a business to build and sell.
So, there you go.
This business is
oblivious, like, oh, I'm going to be in the business forever, no matter what.
So EXP they ain't going nowhere, right? That's not why they're being built. That's not the decisions they make. They're not trying to get as big a value so that they can sell. This is it, sustainability. And when you started seeing proof in the decisions that were long-term sustainable decisions, I'm so big on the core values. So what I always tell people is like, listen, what's the vision of that organization? What are their core values? Do you align or do you not align? If you don't align, don't stay there. If you do align, stay there. And you believe in the leadership, you believe in the vision, then you're in a good spot, no matter what. And even if it's a legacy company, you believe in the vision, you align to the core values. It's
where you want to go.
You're achieving your dreams within that, then stay put. But if you're looking for a way that allows you to collaborate with the best of the best, it's tough to say that there's a better spot than where we're at right now.
Awesome. And I know we're running out of time here. I'm not sure what's your hard stop at, but no model's perfect. Right? Let's not pretend like we are.
No.
Right? And even if we have to just have this conversation between me and you and off the record, right? We'll just keep it inside of our podcast, right? What are some challenges agents should be aware of when adapting to this structure? Or I guess like what can EXP get better at?
Yeah, well, from an agent perspective, if you struggle with, self-discipline, self-motivation, can be a little bit of a struggle, right? I always tell agents, like, listen, if you're really serious about this and serious about this as a career, you've got to get on a team. If you're doing less than 2 deals a month on average, I mean, if you're doing 15 to 20 deals and you're trying to break through, go collapse time, go get on a great team. What's their vision? What are their core values? Where's the alignment? How do they help me support me? How do they do those things? Go get on a team, because it relieves a lot of pressure off of you. And it's funny, I was running through this with a couple different scenarios. Understand customer acquisition cost. And so I was running through this with longtime clients and friends. Average transaction, $6,750. Customer acquisition cost is $1,150. Well, on a 50-50 split, the agent's putting more money in their pocket than the team lead is on a 50-50 split because of the customer acquisition cost. And so get on a great team. If you struggle with self-discipline and self-start, that's key. Get on that and do that. So I think that's where, being able to combine and, get into a healthy environment to allow you to be the most productive as possible. That's where agents need to lean in on, and as far as where can the company get better? I mean, I think they're open to the feedback, to being in a feedback rich environment. I know they make a lot of decisions based upon the Net Promoter Score, of listening to what boots on the ground is actually giving and making adjustments that is sustainable for the long term. So I think, you as an agent, just know that you have a voice and being able to give that feedback, utilize it, utilize your voice, I think is super important.
Awesome. And where do you see the last question? Okay, I promise. Where do you see the real estate industry is moving towards? Where is this heading? And how should agents prepare to build a business that lasts into the future?
Yeah. I think the knowledge-based, agent, the agent that is, providing valuable content. The agents that are thriving right now have a consistent, valuable presence on social media. And because social right now, that's just making everything else easier. But I think you've got to be able to position yourself as an authority, as a true expert. I think you've got to be educating, because that's what buyers and sellers are going to want to know. I think you've got to operate from the framework of what value am I providing that the consumer can't get on their own. I think the shift that we'll start to see with AI is, we're trying to be like, oh, how can we be more efficient utilizing AI? Well, we also have to think that the consumer is going to evolve, and how are they going to be? What's their behavior going to be like utilizing AI to buy and sell their homes? That's where you've got to put your shoes you got to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, and how do they behave? And you've got to be adjusting your business, your strategies, your marketing in alignment to the human behavior. And you got to match and build your model. I think that's why adopt being flexible, being agile, whatever it is. We always just say, be like Gumby for those that are old enough to know what Gumby is. So be like Gumby, be flexible. I think reread, if you haven't read Who Moved My Cheese, go reread and reread Who Moved My Cheese. I think you're going to have to understand the flexibility, being agile, but always putting yourself in the shoes of the consumer, and how are they behaving, and how is AI going to change their behavior in the home buying and home selling process. That's where we've got to be positioned. That's where we've got to get ourselves out to, if we really want to put ourselves in a position to thrive beyond the next 4 or 5 years within this industry.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for that advice. Thanks for all the value you have brought to this conversation, John. It's been a pleasure. Those of you who are on social platforms, on YouTube, follow John. He's always active. It's a lot of value to provide. And if you have found value from this conversation, definitely reach out to him if you need something. Yeah. This has been an incredible conversation about breaking through your business roadblocks and building a future-proof real estate business. And now for our audience, if you are struggling with consistency, you're struggling with mindset, or just trying to generate more opportunities without the traditional ways, the cold calling or spending money on ads even, we have got something for you. We are doing a 5-day brand challenge using AI to design your magnetic brand to help you attract leads effortlessly with magnetic marketing strategies that actually work. So you can stop chasing business and start having business come to you. If you're ready to create a brand that generates consistent opportunities, reach out. I'm going to put a link down on this video for you to register for that challenge. Let's build a business that thrives in any market. Now, more than ever, you need to pivot, and you need to start leveraging strategies that work for today. Thank you, John. Thanks for everything.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
All right.
We'll see you. See you.